I seek a blessing of my parents and gurus. Respected my research supervisor, Dr. K. Krishna sir, my external examiner, Dr. Govardhan Reddy sir, and Dean of Science and Humanities, and Chairman of Department of Constitution and Legal Sciences, Professor N.S. Rao, and all teaching staff, research scholars, students, non-teaching staff, friends, and parents. I once again welcome you all. Today I am here to defend my final white paper. So thank you for giving the opportunity to conduct a research in the Department of Constitution and Legal Sciences, Mangalore University, under the guidance of Dr. K. Krishna Sharma. So my research topic is impact of yoga practices on psycho-immunological changes among healthy youth. So this is the growing field where we can see the different kind of the mental health issues. So present scenario, young adults and youths are facing many difficulties in their lifestyle as well as their routine, and due to the different tradition and the advancement of the culture. So the background of this study, the youth population, particularly young adults, are facing challenges related to their mental health and well-being. So in the present scenario, as I stated, stress, academic pressure, social media influence, and psychological and physiological problems are more commonly used. If you see the global data, 1 in 8 people, it means around 970 million live with the mental disorders according to the WHO data 2024. From there, 23.8% adults experiencing mental illness in the past year. From there, 60 million of Americans and around 15% of people suffer from some or the mental health issues in India. So globally, it is estimated 6 million people are living with the primary immunodeficiency disorders and the same autoimmune diseases affect approximately 5 to 8% in world population. So according to the National Institute of Health Science, the data we got 2023, the research we conducted related to the psycho and immunology. After the COVID, the pandemic, we can see the complete situation and scenario were changed, and especially in all human beings facing many mental health issues. So here, the significantly the impact human has with the millions experiencing the immune-related complications in the inflammatory responses in the young adults. So if you see the global trend of the immunity as well as mental health, so last 5 years, so globally we can see the data of 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23 and 25, up to 25. So here, the increasingly mental health problems are slightly increased year by year. And the another side, we can see the immunity-related problems. So, in this study, 1964, George F. Suleiman introduced the first time he introduced the concept of psycho and immunology. So, where the two different branches integrated which connect to the interconnection between the psychological syndrome and the immune system. So in the pioneer his research article, he explained the emotions of immunity and diseases, the speculative theoretical integration. So it is a paper where you can see the in 2024 seen as the Suleiman et al. And the psychoimmunology is a branch of interconnected with the human mental behavior as well as their immune health system. So the relationship between psychology and immunology. So before that you can see the definition of psychoimmunology. The study connection between the mind and immune system. So in medical science you can see commonly they can use psychoimmunoneurology. It means the short form word as PMI. the relationship between psychology and immunology, where we can see the interconnection between influences and the immune system through the complex chemical hormones and the physiological changes over time. So, the pineal glands, the immunity secreting the mental, which can regulate the immune responses, and mainly TNF. So, we can see the including thymus and lymph nodes, they are affecting the immune responses. The need of study, so it is the rising stress among the youths and mind-body connection, preventive health care and importance. So young people are increasingly facing and experiencing a different kind of the problems, and so we can see the different research paper as well. So the variables of distress, anxiety, depression, weak immunity, and academic pressure, digital overexposure and the social construction. So these are the problems where we can see, and we, in spite of that, we want to this research. We can understand by this, where we can see psychoimmunological studies impact by the practice of yoga and mind-body connection. The scientific research we can see related to the psycho and immunology and the preventive healthcare and importance. We can see the strengthens physiological resilience and the immunity in the youth. This is the main aim of this study, to evaluate the effect of different yoga practices on psychological well-being and immune system functioning in youth. So here the different practices in the sense the kriyas, asanas, pranayamas and the relaxation techniques. These are the objectives of this study. This study to investigate impact of yoga practices on psychoimmunological changes among youth, to evaluate long-term yoga, kriya and asana practice in the fresh postgraduate students, and to verify significant changes in the experimental group, and to suggest and recommend which practices can be helpful for the better psychoimmunological development. The hypothesis and diffusion, null and alternative hypothesis before going to the research, conducting the research. So, in the alternative hypothesis, there will be a significant difference before and after practices of yoga, and the same null hypothesis, there will not be, there will be no significant result in the before and after yoga practices in youth. The review of literature, any research conducting before that, the basic background is literature review, where we can find the data and the previous studies and the basic foundation of the research. This is a conceptual framework of my literature review related to the research topic. The concept of here you can see the contemporary scientific research. Total overview I got in the 90 scientific research papers as well as classical scriptures. And the older relevant empirical research dates from 2000 to 2025 research studies I have referred. And the systematic reviews and the meta-analysis which is related to the psycho and immunology, the 5 papers I have referred, and the physiological assessment and the psycho-immunological theory forces related 5 papers or 5 studies, and immunology and the stress biology and stress studies, total 2015 to 2025, 5 papers I have referred. The conceptual framework here we can see the classical yoga text and the physiological and the psychological mechanism, the effect on the youth and the youth health, and the comparison of yoga intervention. So, these are the papers or studies I have referred. And this is the flow chart from the 90 research paper based on the scientific studies. The 75 papers or studies I have referred. From based on that, anthropometric parameters related to health and the physiological parameter and variable in disease, stress, limitation, anxiety, and immunology related to protein studies, inflammation and immunity related 8 studies, stress and immunity related 6 studies. And based on the yoga classical text, where you can see the prana, energy, immunity, and gunas, mental health, and lifestyle, and related to dosha, where we can balance the doshas on 3 doshas. So from the 90 studies and the evidence, I have only the important which is highly connected to the research topic. The first one is the stress, the Buddha et al. In 2020. 2010. The randomized control trial, here you can see the physiological variables like stress, anxiety, immunology, and one of the prominent research from the Patanjali University, the Telsa et al. 2013. So here the significant improvement in the psychological well-being reached the favorable modulation in the human parameters they observed in the yoga group. The same way the different studies I have referred to related to the psychoimmunology. So these are the research studies which is related to psychological well-being and the human health markers related. So along with the comparison of the basic data where we can collect their anthropometric measurements, the baseline data. And especially yoga classical scriptures, if you see the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Pradipika, Yoga Samhita, Shiva Samhita, so everywhere we can